they just don't know.
What I told you, Cutter.
People seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they just don't know.
Huh?
People,
Let's go.
people seen it, but they just don't know. People seen it, but they.
What's going on, boy? We here once again. You know what I'm saying? And first and foremost, I want to thank God for this opportunity. Now, him and none of us.
Yeah, I hear echo. I do.
Can you hear that?
Okay. Sometimes I know where it's coming from. To the TV coming in the background?
I do.
Can you hear that?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think there we go. Okay, we good. All right. So I'll introduce my right hand man, Mr. Cowboy Lover himself. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Dak Prescott biggest fan, Jacob the Great. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, glad to be in the land of the living, man. Another day, another chance to get it right, man. And we're here. We're thankful for this opportunity to come on and have a great conversation with a great man, for sure.
Yeah, man. Go ahead and introduce this gentleman because he got a stellar career. Gonna try to get into it as much as we can. Go ahead and introduce him to the world.
Yeah, man. So without further ado, man, we have a special invited guest, Coach Earnest Wilson. Man, he's been grooming and shaping young men for years. Turning young boys into men and giving them a chance to pursue athletics while obtaining their education as well, man. So I think he's a remarkable vessel within society. I think he's a mentor. I think he's just an all-around guy that God put on this earth to really help young men and to be an asset in the community, man. Because it's so much that come with a coach. A coach is a father figure, a mentor, a pastor, a counselor, all the above. And they don't ever get credit for all that they do. So, how you doing, Coach Wilson?
Hey, I just want to say thank you. I'm doing well. Glad to be here. You're right on all those. God has put us on earth to help steer young people there His way, and so it's a blessing.
Right. So, Coach, tell us a little bit how you got in coaching and why you want to become a coach.
Well, I really never intended to be a coach. I actually was going. I didn't know, even coming out of college, didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know if I wanted to be a physical therapist. I got a chance to work on my master's at Texas Tech, and that's where did undergraduate and played a little football there. And I remember certain things that happened to me, and I said I'm not going to let that happen to other player. So, and at that time, athletic directors were usually guys that had coached first. Nowadays, you get business type person, but they were coaches. So I had a chance. I had to do my internship, and I went up to Allegheny College in Pennsylvania, and ended up winning 24 straight games. I was coaching receivers and running backs. Won 24 straight games. Won the national championship, and the rest was from there. They kept pulling me in from this place to another place, and 35 years later. I'm sitting here, old.
Right.
I'm the old man of the group nowadays.
Yeah. So, but you have so much, what we call, man, football intelligence, and being the intelligent mind of the game of football, man. How much discipline do you have to have within yourself to really do that and to keep on doing it?
You got to have a lot of discipline. Even, this week I went to the doctor and talking about discipline. You got to make sure your health is up, especially when you're about to turn 60. And your health has to be up. Your mind has to, you always got to keep up on the game. What I'm saying, and when you're talking about discipline, you just got to be able to have a schedule, some form. I don't care if you're, people talking about, well, you got to be up at 4, you got to be up at 5. But some of the even great coaches that I'm seeing or have met along the way, they were in work at 8 or 9. but they knew what they were doing and knew the focus and then what they had to do, and they got it done. And that's why we're there are, why we're known as great coaches.
So to be a great coach, I feel like you have to have people skills, and I feel like there's a method to your recruiting as being a great coach, and so can you really talk about the people skills of a coach and how a coach is supposed to recruit and when a coach recruits, um, how what are the strategic planning for recruiting, to say the
Well,
least?
I'm glad you led off with that because that's how you pretty much lead off your program. It's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes. As you've probably heard that old statement before. Uh, my attitude towards everything is be yourself and be yourself. Don't sell out the kid, young man, or his parents or his family. You see with this NIL and you see with this collective nowadays, people are still trying to sell these young people on, let me give you this gift and you come play for me. But in the end, when they get on the football field, they want to know that they're still cared for. They want to know that they're still loved. Plus, you're doing them a disservice because they're 17, 18 years old. Uh, when you're out recruiting and you're trying to help them be men and you're not, and these nowadays what you're seeing is these younger guys, but even the older guys, they're not helping them be men. They're helping them just to, hey, collect your money while you're here these 2-3 years or whatever and get on out. And then when you find out, and we are adults here, so and we're grown men, that $50,000 that you gave them not gonna last very long. And we're
Right.
hoping to go to the NFL or something, but even then, the average NFL player lasts for 3 years. So I'm still selling the education. I'm still selling, feeling that you belong to your institution. They did a report some years ago, and when we talk about recruiting, and they said that the junior college kids that came in, you're going to see this with the transfers, they don't feel like they're part of that university. So their gift giving is not there. They don't give, they give to maybe to the junior college. Now, what school is the college? What school is the man that keeps transferring every year going to give? Is he going to give anything to his colleges? I don't think so. Uh, but I'm always treated, hey, I'm going to treat you for real like you're my son or my grandson nowadays. I'm going to treat you for real. That's what I said because I think there's a lot of jive going on. I'll, I'll try my best to, well, I will shoot y'all straight during this conversation.
Right. And I'm not a big fan of the NIL, and the reason for it because I see kids transfer, 2, 3 times, and I understand that things happen. You may want to transfer, but I believe that an athlete should be able to transfer only one time, not 2, 3, 4 times. And so, I think to give a kid that much money, when a kid is making 7.5 million off an NIL deal, that kid, I think, sometimes becomes uncoachable. You know what I mean? Because the money is on their mind rather than, being the athlete, rather than being the student, rather than being the best that they can be on the gridiron. And so, I think that NIL money causes uh, a lot of unnecessary friction that you wouldn't normally have.
Yes, it's a bunch of, I say it's a bunch of jive going on. I'll say it like that, and I'm trying to keep my word so you don't get anything in trouble. But it's kind of sad because it's mainly our kids. I'll say it like that. That's being exposed. The parents trying to get them something, or else nowadays they got agents that's trying to get something from these kids. The poor kid, he think he's doing something to help his mother out, whatever, and it might be immediate help, but for the future, it might not help. And like I said, setting them up. If you look at the power four, schools, and maybe now they can pay their kids $100,000 or something. When you start looking at these group 4, group 5 schools, they can't pay their kids. They're real lucky. And then when you start working way down to the FCS and Division 2, they can't pay those kids. They're lucky if they get a hamburger. But a lot of these kids are saying, look, I got this, and trying to show off. But really, we got to really sell, especially African American kids, get your college degree. And then what you just said about the 20, every time you transfer, I was watching it actually, we were about to play a game, and I was watching ESPN, and they were talking about you lose 20% of your degree every time you transfer. So that means you probably will not get a college degree, and then you're not going to get a college degree, or else you play where you want to go play. Then I'm gonna tell you something else. This is why I'm really kind of people I don't think really like me too well at sometimes, because I'm a big advocate of not, or saying, hey, especially to my young brothers, you're losing 20% of your degree, and then they're making up these degrees for them, or they getting these credits that they're going to give, especially when you start talking about group 5. Group, you're giving these BS degrees. And then I said, what can you do with this degree afterwards? And a lot of them, they're backing away now. And they're saying, hey, we don't like people like you. We want them to come play football. You're missing out on this. So.
Okay, Akon.
All right, we take a quick break, and we'll be right back here on 911. Okay, we back here on 910 Sports. We have great accomplished Mr. Earnest Wilson. So, what question I want to ask you, Mr. Wilson, Chief of Staff. So, we hear about, an average fan will hear about board of directors, we hear about president, and we hear about scouts and all these other positions. Chief of Staff. I'm not really familiar. I'm not familiar with a college football chief of staff position. So what exactly is that?
Well, my position was a little bit different because I worked for Stan Drayton, who's the head coach, or was the head coach. But he played for me, and he asked me to come in, and the administration asked me to come in and help Stan continue to develop as a head coach. At the same time, I was in charge of all the support staff, which is the director of, like the DFO, director of football operations, the director of player personnel, the director of engagement, the director of scouting, the director of so on and so forth. So we got all those directors up underneath and assistant directors. So my job was to make sure that they did their daily tasks, academics, and we were liaison to the academic department. And then on the other side, I was also in charge of the coaches. He used to call me his general manager or assistant head coach. And so I was helping coaching development, making sure that coaches did what they had to do. And so I had about 40, 50 people up underneath me. So it was a pretty neat situation, because it was like I had came from being a head football coach, and it's like a continuation of being a head football coach and making sure that things went in the right direction.
Okay. So another question, switch gears a little bit. In your work with great Tony Dungy. So what was that like? A lot of us we hear probably more about how good of a guy he was, and we hear about the spiritual side. But what, from as far as the football acumen, what did you learn the most working with him?
Number one, he is a great guy. I need to call him up. I heard that he's doing some things with young people, or he's still adopting, he and his wife still adopting young people, bringing them in their home. But the thing that he taught me working with Coach Dungy was, I first met him on the defensive side of the ball under, and I'm looking at his face, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. not Tony, but
Green,
Dennis
it,
Green.
Green, yeah.
Dennis Green, under Dennis Green, and they invited me. I have a wild story about Dennis Green, which got me there. But I worked on the defensive side of the ball with Willie Shaw and Tony Dungy. They were down to earth people. Down to earth people. And this is back in the 90s. Worked with those guys. And then, after practice, camp, 2 days or whatever, in between, Dennis Green and myself, and Tony Dungy would shoot basketball. And we would talk and get to know them. You got to remember too, football wise. So they were great people, persons. And then at the same time, these guys were knowledgeable. Dennis was mainly an offensive guy. Tony played quarterback in college. He knew the system. When you see all these, not Joe Moore, but you see more right now. The quarterback, the offensive coordinator, famous offensive coordinator. You see some other guys. Tony knew the offense and he knew the defense. Most people know him as a defensive back, but he actually played quarterback in college. So he knew both sides of the ball, emphasized special teams, and he knew the jobs. So that's one thing when you're trying to develop as a head coach. You got to know all three sides of the ball. You got to be able to talk to, when you hire people, and I know I'm going to a hiring thing, but when you hire your friends or whoever, they got to know. And they got to be able to teach you, and you got to know. You just can't say, hey, you run with it, Bob, you good, and whatnot. And that's what I'm seeing, a lot of failures in coaching.
Okay. Well, I got a two-part question for you. One, when we talk about, me and Jacob talk about this all the time. And I kind of told people this a couple of years back. We've been doing stuff for about 4 years now. And I warned everybody. I said when the NIL transfers came on, that was going to get rid of the super teams or the dynasty, and that you're going to have more of a parity. Because now, let's say like Alabama may have a lot of 5-star players, but they're not going to have the depth that they used to have. You know what I'm saying? Or Georgia, some schools, they're going to get all the 5-star players, but they're not going to have the depth because those players are not going to sit around and wait for the guy in front of them to graduate. As soon as they lose their job, they're out. So to me, and I feel like another thing is that when a player, let's just say a player is from, okay, you coaching at Temple. Let's play for players in front of the Philadelphia area. Instead of him going all the way down to Alabama, Florida, California, he may say, I'm gonna stay home, especially if he can get a bag out of it, because now I can be around my friends, my family, and get the bag. Have you seen what I'm saying? Is that really true to that, or what have you seen since all that come in with the transfer portal?
Well, I think you're breaking up. You've been breaking up, but you were talking about the depth, right?
Yes.
Okay. You see it a couple ways. When you're dealing with depth, I do see kids that don't want to sit and wait. When I was at Penn State, coaching at Penn State, they knew that they were going to get their opportunity on the next level. We never talked about the NFL, and this is back in the day. So you never really talked about the NFL, and you just waited your day. If you were a 2-year starter, hopefully a 2-year starter, 3-year starter, we kept them in different colored jerseys. They waited their time, and then they ended up going to the league. Okay. Then there was the guy, and then now what you're seeing today is kids don't want to sit and wait. They don't want to compete. They just want to say, "Hey, my time is running. I got to get out of here." I call them. I say, if you really look at this thing, it's a 3-3-3 era. You have 3 years in high school that you 10th, 11th, 12th grade. Nowadays, like Jack Sawyer at Ohio State, he played 9th, 10th, 11th, and he played senior year. So you got that 3 years there. You got the 3 years in college. You leaving as a junior, and then you got the NFL players playing 3 years, and then after that you don't have anything to do. But kids feel like they got to go now, and that's the sad thing. They're not real. The parents are not patient, and they are not patient. And I think that if you develop and protect yourself, and I say protect yourself by lifting weights and by conditioning, by doing it and doing everything right, you have a longer career in the NFL. But I see kids right now, they're just not patient, and their parents are not. The main thing I always say, the parents are not patient, and they don't even, they're never not at practice, they're not anywhere around except on Saturday, and they tell their kids, well, they're asking questions just like back in the day, why aren't my child playing? And say, so we have that problem. I don't know. I think it's going to, I think what, but TV created that. Now, what you notice during the national championship game, they were talking about how the Ohio State players hung around and so few of theirs. They talked about Notre Dame and how all their players. I think they're trying to reverse this trend that they created. So that's my personal opinion.
We'll be right back here on 911 Sports with the great Mr. Wilson staff. We back. Go ahead, jump back in.
Okay, Coach Wilson. Now, you've coached many different players, and even on the pro level as well. And so, the Dolphins, and you work with Tony Dungy and some of the greats. So, um, the level of coaching a pro athlete, because once they go from college to pro, it's a whole different ball game. You know what I mean? And so, how is it getting inside those guys' mind? Once they become pro athletes.
The time that I've spent coaching either in the NFL or I always say the real arena league, or even I was in the Major League Football, those guys understood that to know their job. They knew their job. They studied the game. They were like doctors. When a doctor goes in there, he may have a book, but in a surgery, but he has to know his job. Same thing with especially NFL. Those guys, they know their job. They know what they got to do, and they're quick to react to it. They're not taking their time, and you see that. And I spent some time with Chris Dolman when he was at the Vikings, and I said, Chris, what's the difference between NFL and college? And Chris Dolman was an All-American at Pitt. He's in the Hall of Fame, and he goes, Ernest, this is the deal. He says, when we're told, if you ever play defensive end, make sure that you have contain. He says, in the NFL, contain is on your way to getting to the quarterback or getting to where you have to go. But you're supposed to make that tackle. And that's what you still see college people have problems. So just stop. And then when you look at the pro guys, you never see them sit there at the end and wait. So
Right.
they understand their job, but they also understand their mission. And their mission is to make the tackle. And you see that all the time in college. You see guys not studying the playbook, trying to rely on their athletic ability. Well, in the NFL, they're all athletes. They're all good at what they do. And that's why I say they give up their bodies. So you got to be a student of the game.
Okay. And so, speaking, go ahead, Akon.
Before you go, I'm going to ask you because to stay on topic a little bit. So when, certain players, not to call this player out, but I'm back at home and watching the game, and you've been coaching for a very long time. And when they talk, I'm just going to use him as an example. Chase Young talked about how he used athleticism than his head a lot of the field. When you was watching a play like that from home, did you see that with your expert eyes? Could you see that he was doing a lot of free, or you just going like everybody?
With Chase, and I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, so I follow Ohio State. Plus, I have a Maryland background, so I always follow the young men, certain people, and that he was one of them. But you could see it. You could see that he was just that good of an athlete. Larry Johnson, the defensive line coach at Ohio State, is a good one. a great one, and you could see what he did with these guys, these four guys, this past year and the years before. But sometimes, and then even when you look at Bosa and everybody else, that like I said, I am an Ohio State guy too. You could see what how they were developed and what they were doing. Um, I could see it out of Chase. I don't know him that well, but I know some of the people that he hung with and everything else. So it's interesting that he would say that. I didn't say it. He said it, but I could see it.
So speaking of Ohio State, I told people about the second game of the collegiate season. Well, the third game of the collegiate season. I said that Jeremiah Smith is the best receiver in the country. And people looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what? I said, watch. Just watch. Just watch. I said, and he's a freshman. Watch.
Scary.
He's best receiver in the country. And so I see that you have coached running backs and wide receivers as well, correct?
Yes.
And so as far as the technique of a receiver and how they read defenses, what's the best way that you have taught them?
Okay. Number one, I think Brian Hartline has, I think that's his name, is probably one of the best receiver coaches because they all seem to step up. All those guys that's the last 5 years or so, they all stepped up.
Right.
He became a great teacher. Now he's an offensive coordinator, so I'll give him some love that way. He does the little things, and my main thing, if I'm teaching a receiver, number one, I'm always teaching them. We read this. I try to tell my young men, we read the coverages the same way as we read, as the quarterback should be reading them. Number one, we look in the safety box to see how many safeties there are, one or two. Then next, you look at your technique of the person playing over top of you, the corner. Is he playing inside or outside? You can read if it's a man or zone. Also, if you're going, one of my things that I see on TV, they don't really emphasize that much, that when guys go in motion, they got to see if the coverage changes. So that's the main thing I look at. I also sell them on block, because the more you block, the more they want to get out your way, and it messes you up. So if you run off the ball at them and it's trying to, you don't run, block, and then they start kind of dodging out the way. Now saying you're running down for a touchdown. I think that's one thing that Ohio State and some other good great receiver schools are doing. They're selling a runner in your receiver and your run. So I don't know if I answered the question, but that's how I will teach. We teach them reading the coverage. Then what I do, because I do air raid offense, is I also used to teach those guys. There's a front six, there's a front seven, and one of my questions all the time to the receivers is, how many people can the offensive line block, or the offensive line blocking the running back? And usually you get some pretty wild answers. Then you say you got 5 linemen and you got 1 running back, so we can block 6. And then if you have 2 backs in there, you can block 7. And there's some other ways that you can do it. Tight end and stay in. Don't let me start getting too crazy and deep on y'all. But I teach them those little things, so now they know how to run blitz control routes, or just be able to make sure that you're going to hear the right auto. You have to auto to the pass.
Okay, yeah, you definitely answered the question perfectly. And now for the running backs, go ahead, I can.
About blitz control route. So that meaning like when you coming out your route and you know the quarterback about to get blitzed, that you kind of change your route up, kind of make yourself available for the quarterback. You know what I mean? As soon as you get out to come out your break.
Well, it depends, because I've had young men, usually when they first come out, freshmen or whatever, they just run some wild routes. Number one, you got to communicate. And we talk about being in the NFL or being in top colleges, they learn to communicate right away. When you come up to the line of scrimmage, you read your coverage. You look, you make sure you communicate with the quarterback. If you see a blitz, you point out the blitz. Hopefully, the quarterback will do it. If he doesn't, if he does not, I always tell my guys usually if he does not change or audible, then you got to keep the route on, and that's unfortunate. We also and one thing I always say about the air raid offense, uh, and I'm going to give something away here, but what I always say when they come up, quarterback comes up to the line of scrimmage, his first numbers are is coverage. What he thinks the coverage is 0-0-1-1, 2-2, et cetera, et cetera. Then you go on to your coverage. Then you go. So that's one way we help to communicate. And so I think that's understanding, and I'm thinking now. You got me thinking football more, but that's the way we do it to make sure that they're all both on the same page. Sometimes if you get into a old practice blitz, you might shorten the route, and it depends on. When I was in the run and shoot offense, run and shoot, we was more slight adjust on the run, but I think that's gotten harder for young men to do. So when we're in straight drop back type offense, now what we do is we might shorten our route or something like that.
We'll be right. Let you jump back into it, Jacob.
Okay.
Okay, we back here on 9-1 Sports TV. Go ahead, take it.
Okay, so you also coach the running backs and stuff like that too. So
I've coached every position on the offensive side of the ball, and then I coached DBs. So
okay. So the running back, I think it seems like one time they was kind of losing momentum, especially within the NFL. And now it seems like they gained it back. So is your liking of a running back? Do you like the power back? You like the finesse back? Or you just like an all-purpose back?
well, number one, you just hit a spot here. I'm so glad you said that. I thought it was the dumbest thing. And I'll tell you what back, I like a little bit of everything, but one thing that really bothered me, and I don't know, and sometimes I think it's race related. I think it's whatever related. I don't know, but the running back has to know the protections. The running back has to know their pass game. The running back has to know the run game. He has to know the blocking scheme so he can run the ball better. He has to know all that stuff. And I don't know how that guy, who's an important part of pass blocking, just like the offensive line, all suddenly at that coaching position, that's less money at the whatever position, at the coaching position or at the running back position, it's less getting it done. But yet, you tell this, you heard this before. You said, in order to win football games or have a great offense, you got to be able to do what?
Run the ball.
Run the ball. So you're going to take that guy and say, hey, we can just go get anybody in the offensive line to do it all? Well, that's not right. And so I look at people like, everybody should be getting paid the right amount of money. And so therefore, that position, I like a little bit of a power back. We all want to say we want that Walter Payton.
Mm-hmm.
Walter Payton, he'll run you over, he'll juke you. And so that's the guy that I prefer, block. If it was run blocking, pass blocking, get it all. And that's what I try to coach my backs to do.
Okay. Yeah. I said that I just seen that Deion Sanders hired Marshall Faulk as running back coach, and I said, man, now that's a running back that really don't get talked about enough. I love Marshall Faulk at San Diego State, and I loved him when he played for the Colts and when he played for the Rams. So I just really think that running back position is a key position to win ball games. You really have a good running back, and then even when growing up watching football with my pops, because my pop was a huge Redskins fan, so growing up watching football with him, I noticed that they took the fullback away from the football game, which growing up watching the fullback was a very important part of the game as well. And so, why do you think they took the fullback away?
I don't. They said a couple things, and in my history have taught me a couple things. When I was in Arena League was made up of certain positions that the quarterback, I mean the 11-man game, could not develop. And one was the fullback. That's why you always had the big guy that could get 3-4 yards in Arena League, and he was important, but at the same time, he blocked. So that's that, and I think that they kind of lost the development of that. There's some other positions that's in Arena. They wanted the quarterback to be like Kirk Warner and have that quick release, the 11-man game, and you had got college quarterbacks that was coming out that was kind of stiff and couldn't do that at that time. I just think, and I'm looking at this 11, what we call 11 personnel, 12 personnel, the tight end playing off the line of scrimmage, but yet the defensive end or outside backer lines up. And I saw this a lot this year. And the guy just runs straight through. And I'm saying, why don't you put him back up on the line of scrimmage so he have a better chance at blocking?
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can see that tight end eventually get back on the line of scrimmage. I think you could I would still use the NFL still uses two backs, most of them. But they're taking guys from all over the field that played in college, linebackers, defensive ends, or whatever, and they're making the fullback. So you got to be able to, people don't know. I say this, people don't really know how to coach sometimes, and I'm not saying everybody will say it nowadays. People coach, so they don't know how to take out the person if he wrong shoulder it or he hits the guy square or whatever. They don't know how to do it, and so that's a lost art too. So I
Yeah.
think, and I think that when you line that guy outside, he doesn't line up the way you want. Then you got to be able to adjust on that play. Because if I had a fullback, I'm probably lining him up inside the guard and tackle. And so now I can cut him off there. So those are certain little things being not really coaching as a chief of staff. I can really sit back and watch nowadays, and
Right.
then start watching everybody else.
That's
So
right.
I'm trying
That's right.
to be ahead of the game.
That's right. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. I come back to you.
All right, we're gonna take one last quick break. I got an important question to get back here on 911 Sports. Okay, we back. We back here on 911 Sports. I got a question to ask you. So you've been around the game over 40 years. So this is not to retire you or nothing, but I'm just asking this question hypothetically, or not. It's a hypothetically about a question about. So let's just say we were at your retirement. You got students, you got athletes, and current, you got coaches, you got all kind of staff, whatever, at your retirement party. What would be a phrase, or what would be something that they say about you that you may use, or philosophy that you've used over 40 years to be so successful?
Number one, recruiting wise, I'm trying to get the guy to like the school. Uh, I tell you, when you pick that school, young man, you pick the school because of the academics and you like the school. So when I know that you're playing for me, or playing for the school, you're not playing for Coach Wilson. Coach Wilson could die tomorrow. That you're here to get your degree. Two, and I talked to a young man today. I said, "Are you working on your?" I said, "I knew you graduated from college, but I said, are you working on your master's?" And he said, "Yes, I'll be finished in December." That's what I want. I want these young men to understand to get that degree, and that's no joke. It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed in all these years. And like I said, have a major. Don't just be getting a degree and then have to go out onto the street and can't use that degree. Number two, I say pick the school because of its social setting. That you could live there, be there. We talked about, I worked in the HBCUs and I worked in the PWIs. And I just want them to be happy and have had a great experience because that 18 to 22 will help some of them. They will mess some of them up, 18 to 22 years old. So we want to make sure that they have a good situation. Then number two, football. So when you end up and it's all said and done, you have had a great experience on the field, off the field. Hopefully off the field. But I want you to have one on the field. We got championships. I think they tell you about that. I think they say a coach was at times he was a hard ass, but at the same time that little guy was a hard ass. But at the same time, we knew he cared about us. He loved us. He cared about us. I used to have I one time my son made it don't sound right, but my son said, "You treat us just like the players." I said, "Yes, I do," because I tell them I love them, and I'm gonna treat them just like they're my kids. I ain't playing. I'm gonna treat them just like my kids. I'm gonna be fair. I'm gonna do things right, and I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire. Because once you step outside of this building, they're not gonna always hold your feet to the fire. They're gonna fire you. So I don't want to get fired. So that's that. And of course, I want them to, and I'm religious. I say I'm a religious man, but I believe in Christ. And so I always try to steer them when things are going wrong. Everybody with mental problems, but a lot of it could have been when we started out this conversation about discipline. And if we had just kept to reading the Bible, the discipline of it, a lot of us would be, and we're not. We're trying to find our love somewhere else.
Okay. And so, in a nutshell, just by having this wonderful dialogue with you, a famous quote at your retirement party would be Coach Wilson said, "Love yourself enough to become a better you."
That's right.
Mm.
I might have to write that down and use that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So how you groom kids and how you care about kids if they was your birth kids, your biological kids, and how you treat them like you would treat your own kids.
That's
Love
right.
yourself enough to become a better you. Simple as that.
That's right. And that's why I can't take coaches that take things out on kids and whatnot. That shows their immaturity. But you got to be the adult and you got to be the father. You got to be the father, just like you would discipline. You're just not going to beat your kid to beat your kid. You got to make sure that you're teaching your kid. You always got to teach, and that's what I always tell people. You got to teach them. You know, and so don't be so quick to. And then I see coaches like that all the time. I'm going to get him. How are you going to get him? What did he do? Are you not the upper person? Are you not here to teach? You know.
Right. Icon?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So, real quick before we get out of here, I want to thank you for coming on. Uh,
I
we had
want to thank you guys for having me.
one of the best to ever do it. Uh, Bill, I don't know if that's one of your because we didn't get a chance to read them. A lot of
Yeah,
man.
that's one of my old coaches.
Okay, so we also uh, uh here. I gotta get barely read the glass.
B Mess, he says you're a legend in my eyes.
Yeah. Okay,
Those
we
are
got
two young men. B-Mess is working on his doctorate right now. He played for me. He's over at Bowling Green working in the athletic department. Sam is I don't know, job at another university. But both of those guys played for me or coach with me, young GA. So those are guys that, like I said, especially I do all players. They know that. Yeah, I don't hold anything back, but I really focus on the African American young man because I
Hmm.
think we are getting short end of the stick. and we need to make sure that we are doing. It might hurt my career, but it got to take care of me. But we got to really help these young men out, make
Well,
them feel important, not only on the field but off the field.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
appreciate you coming on and giving us your time. Um, whatever. I know you're a busy man, so I thank you for coming on. Could have been anywhere, and you here. So shout out to Dino FM and 168 Radio, 91 country that this show will be playing on. But I'm definitely coming on and give us your time, and we wish you all the best endeavors. And one of these days we get up there and and catch one of them Temple Owl games.
Yeah, we got to do that. I get a question now. Are you guys in Charlotte?
I'm in Atlanta.
I'm in South Carolina.
Okay, okay, okay. Because I know we've been trying to hook up. I looked at our thing and it's been like 2 years or so, or 3 years.
Yeah. We was just missing each other and stuff like that. So I said, let me hit Coach up to see what's going on with him, to see if he's available tonight. And you said yes, and I'm very appreciative of that. And Coach, if you have other athletes and other coaches that we can get on here to tell their story, because this is about mentorship, coaching, about grooming young men to shaping them into productive citizens, for the future. So if you have any other coaches, any young athletes that want to come on and get interviewed, please send them our way.
All right, I will do. Will do. Appreciate you guys having me on. Like I said, it's my honor.
Yes, sir.
So I want y'all to know that.
Yes, sir. Take care and be blessed.
Hey, you be blessed too. All right.
Yes, sir. All right.